My sister tried to block me from entering my own hotel, sneering, "Busy folding napkins, are we?" Just as my mother said, "This isn't the time for tension." They had no idea I built the empire they were celebrating. Until I walked in, my stomach clenched, a familiar knot of anger and disbelief twisting inside me. I was standing at the grand entrance of the Solstice Grand, a place I had poured my heart and soul into, a place I had designed, and my own. Sister, Laurel, was blocking my way. "Kazie," she sneered, dragging out my name like it was something foul. "I didn't think you'd actually show up. Busy folding napkins, are we?" The unwelcome guest. Her words hit me like a slap. Laurel stood there, a cheap imitation of a high-fashion bag clutched in her hand, trying to assert her imagined superiority. "Dad's birthday isn't a walk-in event," she continued, her voice dripping with condescension. "There's a dress code, a guest list, and an expectation of discretion." Before I could even formulate a reply, my mother, Diane, drifted into view, draped in icy blue silk and an even icier judgment. Her eyes swept over me, a surgeon's glance searching for a flaw. "We really hoped you'd understand," she cooed, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "This isn't the time for tension. It's Martin's night." "I brought a gift," I said, a small knowing smile playing on my lips. Laurel rolled her eyes. "A scented candle? An Olive Garden gift card?" I simply tapped the envelope in my clutch. "Something more permanent." Mom's eyes narrowed. "Look, sweetheart, it's not about the gift. It's about presentation, status. Everyone important will be here." Oh, I understood. Perfectly. They had spent years crafting their perfect, polished family image, and my departure from their accounting firm made me the inconvenient stain on their starched white collar. They were terrified I'd ruin their carefully constructed illusion of wealth and unity. "I'm not here to cause a scene," I said softly. "But your presence would be a scene," Laurel snapped. "What do you expect us to do? Introduce you as the sister? Who left to wait tables?" If only they knew. I said nothing, letting their words hang in the air. I watched the marble floors sparkle under chandeliers I'd chosen. I saw a bellhop escort guests to elevators I'd approved. I listened to a jazz trio tuning instruments in the atrium, a musical partnership I'd negotiated. Everything they were trying to keep me from was already mine. "Please, Cassier, don't embarrass yourself," Mom pleaded, her grip on my wrist gentle, but firm. She meant, don't embarrass them. The key card in my hand pulsed, a silent heartbeat. I could end their charade in one sentence, but not yet. Sometimes silence is the sharpest truth. "I understand," I said finally, and they both visibly relaxed, misreading me again. I stepped back, giving them what they thought was victory, even as I stared up at the shining brass letters. Solstice Grand. The name they'd erased me from. The building they thought I had no place in. The empire they didn't know I'd built. The unseen ascent. 10 years ago, I stood in my father's office, a printed resignation letter trembling in my hand. Laurel was there, dismissive as ever. My father, Martin Vaughn, stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, waiting for me to back down. "I'm leaving," I said, my voice small but steady. "I've been accepted into the hospitality management program at Penn." He blinked. "You mean to wait tables?" "I mean to run hotels," I replied. "Own them." His laughter was sharp, cutting. "Cazier, this family built something solid, respectable, and you want to fold towels and ask strangers if they want extra pillows?" Laurel snickered, not even bothering to look up. "Don't forget, she gets to plan wedding brunches and clean up champagne vomit. Sounds glamorous." My father's expression hardened. "If you walk out of here, you walk out for good. There won't be a job waiting when it falls apart. There won't be bailouts." "I'm not asking for one," I told him. "You're not thinking clearly," he shot back. You're acting like some glorified waitress with a savior complex. I met his gaze, unflinching. Then let me save myself. That was the last time I stepped into that office. They scrubbed my photo from the company website by the end of the week. My name vanished from the family newsletter by Christmas. In place of celebration, I got silence. In place of support, I got absence. And in that absence, I built something they couldn't see. I started small, entry-level in a boutique hotel. I worked the front desk, the linens, the breakfast bar. I learned the rhythms of hospitality not from textbooks, but from double shifts and mop buckets. While they played dress-up and financial prestige, I was learning to manage people, read margins, negotiate vendor contracts, and spot opportunity where others saw risk. The first hotel I bought was on the verge of bankruptcy. No one saw value in it but me. I stripped the wallpaper myself, slept in a guest room during renovations, and reopened it 8 months later as the Solstice Inn. Within a year, it was turning a profit. Within 3, it was a brand. Now, it's an empire. And still, they think I manage a brunch cafe. The turning tables. A car horn jolted me back to the present. A stretch limousine pulled up, and out stepped Laurel, smirking, waving like a pageant queen. She probably thought this spotlight belonged to her. I stayed in the shadows, let her soak it in. Soon, she'd find out whose spotlight she was truly standing in. Laurel spotted me again as she stepped back outside. "Still here?" she said, disbelief, tightening her voice. "I didn't realize you were the one sending messages," I offered, a small, almost imperceptible smile. She scoffed, gesturing to a gold pendant. "Anyway, I don't expect you to understand, but some of us have actual careers to protect. I made junior partner last week. Dad was thrilled. We even celebrated here, in the Sapphire Lounge." That would have been the night my head of marketing sent me a note about unauthorized press photos being taken in one of our lounges. Laurel's name was on the report. I hadn't followed up. Let them have their moment. "Congratulations," I said. "I hear the firm finally signed their lease." She blinked. "How do you—" "Small town," I replied. It wasn't. The building they were leasing belonged to one of my real estate holdings. My team had flagged their application for missing income documentation. I approved it anyway. Diane emerged next, frowning as she took in my simple black dress. "That's what you're wearing? This is the Solstice Grand. Elegance matters, not restraint." I traced the seam of my sleeve. "It's custom. Julian Renee, from the unreleased fall line." Diane froze. "Renee doesn't release until next month." "I know. I was at the preview in Paris." Her mouth opened, then closed. No retort came. It wasn't about the dress. It never was. It was the idea that I might still be standing outside the frame they painted for me, that I hadn't faded into the cautionary tale they'd assigned me. "You always did have expensive taste," Laurel muttered, "even when you couldn't afford it." I looked past her into the lobby. A group of suited men laughed with the concierge, 3 of them representing a bank we'd been quietly negotiating to acquire. "I learned to invest in quality," I said. "It pays off in the long run." "Just go home, Cassier," Diane exhaled. "Honestly, you'll feel better." I almost did. I almost turned away, ready to hand over the envelope and leave. Let them live in their illusion. But something inside me refused. Not pride, not vengeance. Something quieter, firmer. I stayed, back straight, the key card still tucked in my clutch like a promise waiting to be opened. Let them keep watching. I hadn't spoken yet. Laurel checked her phone. "You really don't get it, do you? The VIP floor is reserved. It's for family." "And distinguished guests," I raised an eyebrow. "And I'm neither," she smiled sweetly. "You left the family, remember. And as for guests, Let's just say the room's full of people who matter. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She'd handed me the script. I was just waiting for the right moment to flip it. We've got the Whiters coming, she rattled off. The Crestwells, Judge Albright. Oh, and the Donovans. They just closed a big property. Deal. I nodded, as if I hadn't already seen every name on her mental guest list. The Whiters leased 3 floors in my Midtown tower. The Crestwells had just signed an annual contract with our Aspen retreat. Judge Albright's foundation banquet was held at one of my hotels last month, at a heavily discounted rate he still hadn't paid for. And the Donovans? I was their silent investor. I see, I said calmly. Quite the guest list. Diane stepped in, her tone clipped. This isn't personal, Kassira. We just can't risk drawing attention tonight. Your father deserves something elegant, without complications. I looked up at the hotel, its sweeping windows reflecting the golden hour light like fire wrapped in glass. I remembered selecting those panes. I remembered standing in this very spot the night we opened, never once thinking my own family would be the ones trying to shut me out. Laurel crossed her arms. You wouldn't even recognize the VIP floor. It's all hand-picked design, custom chandeliers, imported marble, curated art pieces. It's not exactly your style. I fought the laugh rising in my throat. I'd personally approved every detail she just listed. The chandeliers came from a workshop in Prague I'd visited. The marble, mined from the same quarry I used for the Tokyo resort. The art, commissioned by a local painter I'd mentored. She was describing my work as if it belonged to someone else. But I let her keep going. I let them both believe they were protecting something I couldn't possibly understand. And while they stood there, clinging to their borrowed status, I quietly pulled the key card from my clutch and ran my thumb across the gold emblem. It was time. The reveal. The glass doors of the solstice. Grand parted with a whisper, and out stepped Donovan. Tall, composed, and in his signature charcoal suit. He scanned the scene like a man trained for crisis, then locked eyes with me. "Madam CEO," he said, his voice calm but clear enough to echo across the entrance. "Your table is ready. Chef Langston is waiting for your approval on the tasting menu." Laurel blinked. Diane's fingers twitched. Donovan stepped closer, nodding, respectfully. "Apologies for the delay. We were finalizing security for the VIP floor." The shift was immediate. The doorman straightened. The concierge inside froze, then whispered into her mic. The bellhop by the elevator recognized me. Guests paused mid-conversation as they caught the title. A few stole glances. One man, Mr. Whitmore himself, did a double-take. My mother turned. To me, the color drained from her face. "Cassier," she murmured. "What is this?" "I believe you mentioned the VIP floor," I said softly, stepping forward. "I'd like to go up." Laurel recovered enough to scoff. "This is a joke." Donovan didn't flinch. "Miss Vaughn is the founder and CEO of Solstice Lux Hospitality. She owns the Solstice Grand, as well as all affiliated resorts, hotels, and restaurant groups under the Solstice brand." Gasps. Real ones. Not polite party reactions, but actual startled gasps. "Which includes," Donovan added, "the office building. Your firm just leased Ms. Vaughn, and the Charleston properties Mr. Whitmore's team manages." Laurel's mouth fell open. Diane stepped back, her heels slipping slightly on the curb. I turned to them both. "Shall we? I hear the view from the top floor is worth seeing." Then I stepped forward, past their silence, into the lobby I had built. The marble under my heels was smooth, cool, familiar. My staff greeted me with nods, soft smiles, and a touch of awe. Rachel at the front desk spoke gently into her earpiece. "She's here. Elevators are ready." I walked to the center of the atrium, the chandelier above catching firelight from the lobby sconces. My family lingered, behind me, unmoving, But the doors were already open, and this time, I wasn't waiting for permission to walk through them. The elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, revealing the Solstice Grand's private lounge. The room fell silent the moment I stepped inside. Dozens of carefully curated guests turned their heads. Waitstaff froze mid-pour. Soft jazz stuttered to a halt, as if even the music had recognized the shift in power. My father stood near the head of the room, drink in hand, mouth slightly ajar. He didn't move. My mother gripped her pearl necklace like it was a rosary, her eyes scanning me, as if searching for an explanation she could live with. I kept walking. "Kasira?" Martin Vaughn said at last, stunned. "What are you doing here?" "I believe this is your birthday," I replied gently. "I came to offer my gift." Mr. Kwan from Crest Point Bank stepped forward, interrupting. "Miss Vaughn, I had no idea you were connected to the Vaughn family. We've been trying to reach your office for weeks regarding our expansion loan." Before I could respond, Judge Albright appeared. "Cassier Vaughn," he chuckled. "Now everything makes sense. The woman behind those property acquisitions. I should have known it was someone with Charleston roots." The Blackwells were next. "Your team rejected our membership application," Mrs. Blackwell murmured, suddenly deferential. "We'd love a chance to reapply directly." I glanced back toward the elevator. Diane stood at the threshold, plastering on a smile, her voice lifting for the guests nearby. "We've always been proud of our daughter. Of course we supported her journey. It's just, well, she's always been independent." Laurel was behind her, half shielded by the door, staring at the marble floor like it had betrayed her. I turned back to the guests. "Please enjoy the evening. Everything has been arranged. My staff is here to ensure you're comfortable." "Kasira," my father said again, quieter this time. "I didn't know." "No," I replied. "You didn't." He looked smaller now, not just surprised but fragile. The same man who once told me no daughter of his would serve tables. Now, surrounded by the very people who once dismissed me, each suddenly eager to attach their name to my name. I made my way toward the table and gently placed the envelope beside his plate. He didn't reach for it. Behind me, I heard my mother trying to explain me to the Blackwells, as if I were a rediscovered heirloom. I let her, but I took my seat at the head of the table. Not because they finally invited me, but because I had always belonged there. The horizon. I found him alone on the terrace, hands resting on the stone railing, his eyes fixed on the Charleston skyline. He didn't turn when I stepped beside him, just sighed. "You've built quite a kingdom." I nodded. "Yes." "I was wrong about you." His voice cracked slightly. "So terribly wrong." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The night air was soft, salt-tinged. Far below, the city pulsed with life. "I never needed you to believe in me," I said. "I just wanted you to see me." He lowered his head. I didn't know how. "No," I said. "You didn't try." He turned toward me slowly, searching my face. "Can you ever forgive me?" I looked out past the rooftops. The dome of the old courthouse glowed gold against the indigo sky. A city that had once made me feel small now looked like something I could hold in my hands. "You didn't fail me by doubting me," I said. "You failed me by measuring love with status. You loved us based on who followed your path. You respected only what fit your image." He didn't argue, didn't flinch. "I didn't come here tonight for closure," I added, "or for approval. I came because I stopped needing either." His eyes shone with something like grief. Not for what he'd done, but for the version of me he'd never cared to know. I stepped back toward the glass doors. "You can tell people your daughter owns the Solstice Grand now. That seems like something you'd enjoy saying at dinners." "Caissier," he started. But I'd already turned away. The door closed gently behind me. I slipped away before the final toast. Let them clink glasses and pretend they knew me. Upstairs, in my private office overlooking the bay, I let the quiet settle. The skyline shimmered, a city I'd once been told I'd never belong to. Now it was mine in more ways than they'd ever know. My desk held a short stack of business cards, ones slipped to me by guests who once ignored me. Suddenly, they wanted meetings, partnerships, introductions. Laurel's fiancé had disappeared mid-reception, no explanation, just vanished when the truth settled in. Diane retreated behind airless diplomacy, apologizing for my independent streak with the same charm she used. To dismiss me, I opened my checkbook, wrote a quiet donation to a women's startup fund under a pseudonym. The memo line read, "For the girl they once called a waitress." Then I leaned back in the leather chair I'd chosen a lifetime ago, the one no one gave. Me, the one I built. Below, the last of the party lights flickered off. The story they told about me was over. Now I would write my own. The runway shimmered in the early light as I stepped onto the jet. No entourage, no camera flashes, just the hush of a morning and the weightlessness that comes from leaving something behind. My phone buzzed once. My father. A short message. "Let's talk again soon." I read it, then let it disappear. Some things don't need a response. Instead, I opened a new message to Donovan. "Let's move forward with the new resort project. One without gates, no velvet ropes, no dress codes. Just belonging." He replied within seconds, already drafting the site plans. "We'll send options by end of day." I smiled. Outside the window, the city faded beneath the clouds. They had written me out of the family story a long time ago. All I did was stop asking for a paragraph. I became the publisher. And now, no more. Waiting for applause that would never come. No more shrinking to fit their narrative. They tried to lock me out. I became the architect of every room they'll never own.